Well, happy Monday, Life Group leaders. Another week upon us as we begin to wind down the semester. We're going to be jumping back into our Who is God series again, just like we did coming off the Son, and now we're going to be jumping into the Spirit. This will close out our Who is God series, and the schedule is a little bit chaotic as we close out the semester. It always is. If this is your first year, welcome to the chaotic April and May. We will have a normal week this week, Project Shine next week, a normal week after that, and then it really gets unique for the last 3 weeks, I think. We have a Life Group Leader Wednesday where we'll celebrate you as Life Group leaders, a Transition Wednesday where we will transition new students into middle school, new students into high school, and then, of course, our end of the year parent night, Flubber another year of Flubber, our fifth year actually. So pretty exciting to have another full year of ministry underneath our belt. This week, we are jumping into the Spirit, and here's some things that you need to know. It'll be a little bit of a different structure. Last, I think, 3 weeks has been somewhat the same with a little bit of different elements mixed in there, where we kind of do an intro with announcements, a song with review, teaching, a song, teaching, life group, song. This week will be a little bit different. Somewhat similar. We'll start with welcome announcements. High School the Game will be in the student room this year instead of just this week, instead of just hang out on the mezzanine. Then we will do somewhat of a review of where we were last week, and a video and a song that goes with that to kind of get us back to that place. And then we're going to continue the story, except I'm going to take 2 sections and put them together. It's just going to be an extended teaching period this week. So we will talk about the day of Pentecost, the Spirit coming, and some of the pieces we're going to look at there is the Spirit comes, confusion ensues, people are confused, what's going on? Some people think they're drunk, some people are amazed, and then some people, like Peter, start preaching. And so these different responses with the Spirit, and we still see some of those today. Really want students to think about their experiences with the Spirit, their background with the Spirit, try to get all that out this week so we can then begin establishing, okay, what's the actual role of the third person of the Trinity, the Spirit. We're going to talk about the primary role of the Spirit. Even on the day of Pentecost, was as soon as it came, Peter started preaching, and after Peter preached, people came to know the Lord. They repented, they were baptized after they were cut to the heart, and then they were filled with the Spirit, and they started preaching. And so looking at this day of Pentecost, it's going to be story mode again, which is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to try to bring in some sound effects to kind of bring the story to life, really get it animated with it. A story that tends to be a little bit like weird. Try to simplify it and really bring us all to be on the same page. Because ultimately, when the Spirit comes, it's because salvation comes. When the Spirit comes into somebody's life and it opens their eyes to the truth, salvation comes. And we need to celebrate that and realize that that's a primary role of the Spirit. And then after that, we'll very briefly dig into that point a little bit. John 14:6. We're going to get into John 14 and how Jesus describes the Spirit after Project Shine, our second week of 2 weeks on the Spirit, separated by Project Shine. But we're just going to take one verse out of there, and this is the verse where he talks about the Spirit pointing us to remember all that he taught us. And so, the primary role of the Spirit is to fix our eyes on Jesus, right? To make Christ known and bring people to salvation. And so we want to make sure the gospel is remembered. I'm going to use an illustration that I used. We want to make sure that they understand that the Spirit's primary role is to make sure the gospel is known and remembered, right? I'm going to use an illustration. If you were with me a few years ago, we talked about the triune God for a whole semester. I used this illustration. It's going to be a cross in the middle of the stage. There's going to be one of those outdoor lights in front of the cross, and it's going to be facing the audience. And we're going to turn all the lights off, and we're going to face the light into the eyes of the students. And it's going to be very blinding because we're going to turn the lights off and turn it on, and bang, you're just going to be blinded by it. And then we're going to turn that off again, and I'm going to turn it around and point it towards the cross, and then turn it on, and now all of a sudden you can still see the Spirit, but the Spirit illuminates the cross. And that is the primary role. It has been for all of eternity. The relationship between the Father and the Son, and now that continued relationship through the cross that gets us to the Father and back into this relationship. So that's where we're going. Your questions I will send to you, but your questions are going to evolve around their background and trying to dig out some of that, making sure what have I heard? What do I remember? What have I experienced? And then the second piece will be talk through the cross light illustration. What are their thoughts? What do they think? Had they heard it that way before? If not, how had they heard it? And how is this healthy to hear it in that way? And then we'll come back together and we will sing a song as we leave this week. Once again, a few reminders. Project Shine is next week, so make sure you let your students know. Atlanta signups. I need some leaders to start calling me, contacting me, committing. I don't want to wait till we're 2 weeks out. You get half off as a leader for going. It's a great opportunity to be away with your students and a lot of their parents for a week and get intentional in that way. The only other thing I can think of is just be praying as we begin to hype the hunt back up for a middle school minister to come on staff full-time with us. We've gotten through a few different things, including the conference we went on as a staff. Budgets are approved. We know exactly how much that individual will make, and we know their job description, and so we're picking the hunt back up. So start praying again as we seek to find the person who the Lord wants to be here on this team, in this body, pursuing the gospel with us. So love you guys. Looking forward to another great week.